This morning, cause for alarm. 2 fire companies responding to a smoky situation on campus that forced the evacuation of 2 residence halls. Plus, students, faculty, athletes, and coaches at St. Bonaventure are taking action and speaking out against the social injustice. New details unfurling this morning. Also, out of quarantine, your Bonnie's men's basketball team is back to work, getting ready for tip-off later this fall. And a fierce battle is heating up in the race for the White House, and the latest controversy is swirling around reports the president will nominate a new Supreme Court justice this weekend. SBU-TV starts now. Thanks for joining us on this Friday morning. I'm Tommy Valentine. Happening right now, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is the first woman to lie in state, her body arriving to the U.S. Capitol building within the hour. Wednesday, Ginsburg was brought to the Supreme Court to have public and private viewings. Members of the public and prominent figures such as Bill and Hillary Clinton, Senators Chuck Schumer and Bernie Sanders, and President Donald Trump paid their respects to Ginsburg. Ginsburg passed away due to complications from pancreatic cancer. A private memorial will be held next week at Arlington National Cemetery. That's where she'll be buried. St. Bonaventure's Falconio Hall, a freshman residence dorm, evacuated yesterday after a triggered fire alarm. Local fire departments responded to the fire alarm yesterday afternoon. According to a press release from the university, smoke from an air handler on the roof set off the alarm. Students were allowed to return back after the smell cleared. The university's facilities department is working to fix the handler. This morning, we bring you the latest COVID-19 numbers on SBU's campus, Cattaraugus County, and in New York State. This week, 4 more cases reported on St. Bonaventure's campus. Total confirmed cases since August 1st, now at 7, according to university officials. According to the Cattaraugus Department of Health, COVID-19 deaths remain at 5 as of this morning. 14 active cases within the county and confirmed total cases at 215. According to the New York State Department of Health, New York State COVID-related deaths climbed to over 33,000. Total confirmed cases stand at over 452,000, more than 10,000 of those currently active as of this morning. President Trump said he will nominate a new Supreme Court justice Saturday. SBU-TV's Nick Gellion tells us how this decision could directly affect the greater Olean community.
My plan expands affordable insurance options.
President Trump signed executive orders Thursday that help protect the Medicare benefits of people with pre-existing conditions.
Streamlines bureaucracy, accelerates innovation, strongly protects Medicare, and always protects patients with pre-existing conditions.
The Affordable Care Act, the health care law signed by former President Barack Obama in 2010, could be ruled unconstitutional depending on President Donald Trump's nomination to replace the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court. Benefits for those with pre-existing conditions will continue if the Affordable Care Act is repealed. But people in the greater Olean area without pre-existing conditions could still be in danger of losing Medicare benefits. The Affordable Care Act cost the United States $3.6 trillion in 2018, according to the United States Center for Medicare Services. That adds up to over $11,000 per person. I talked to some people in the Olean community who rely on this money from the Affordable Care Act, and I asked them what the effect would be if the Affordable Care Act was repealed.
And they pay for my specialist. I don't know what I would do. It's the only way I can pay for my medical care.
I am able to get an annual Medicare physical at no cost each year. I have family members that are on it. Yeah. And it would be devastating to them if they lost it. My adult children. Yeah. You know, it would be devastating to them if they lost that.
Supreme Court arguments on the Affordable Care Act are to begin November 10th, 1 week after the presidential election. Given President Trump's nominee pick coming Saturday, debates on whether or not the nomination should come after the election have surfaced.
With just 6 weeks to go until Election Day, the battle over filling Ruth Bader Ginsburg's Supreme Court seat is intensifying. President Trump, whose campaign could benefit from a swift confirmation, says he will announce his nominee by the end of this week after memorial services for Ginsburg have concluded.
Well, I'd much rather have a vote before the election because there's a lot of work to be done, and I'd much rather have it. We have plenty of time to do it. I mean, there's really a lot of time. I'm just doing my constitutional obligation. I have an obligation to do this. So I would rather see it before the election.
Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden campaigning in Wisconsin on Monday, insisting the winner of the election should fill the vacancy.
We're in the middle of an election. By the time that vote comes up, if it comes up, there will have been close to 40% of people have already voted. It's a violation of the spirit of the Constitution to suggest that he should not wait until the outcome of the election.
Trump says there are 5 women on the short list. And a source tells CNN that among those thought to be in the running, one apparent frontrunner, Amy Coney Barrett, met with President Trump at the White House on Monday.
Keep an eye out on our social media pages this weekend as we stay up to date with President Trump's nominee. Speaking of elections, are you registered to vote this November? Tuesday, September 22nd was National Voter Registration Day. Students on Bonaventure's campus had the opportunity to register to vote or send in absentee ballots over the past 3 days. An absentee ballot is a ballot used to cast an absentee vote for a person who can't be physically present at a voting center on Election Day. According to the Higher Education Act, universities are required to provide voter registration opportunities to students. More than 25 volunteers from university clubs and athletics help students fill out registration forms online and in person free of charge. If students are from out of state, they can fill out an absentee ballot and check their email for other instructions. The deadline to register to vote in New York State is October 9th. There are currently over 45,000 active voters in Cattaraugus County. Over 40 Bonaventure students registered to vote on paper, but the number of students that registered online is unknown. In the wake of recent social justice movements across the nation, Zachary Murphy talked to a local organization in Olean.
Protests similar to this were a common sight to see over the summer. Olean had its own protest as well. I'm standing at the first roundabout between East State Street and South Union Street, the place of the first protest following George Floyd's death last May. The ORJC, the Olean Racial Justice Coalition, came about after the large turnout at the initial protest.
It just kind of snowballed from there, and different people have come in and started running it, and now it's become like this big group. So
the ORJC plans events to educate the community on racism, as well as to protest, giving citizens an opportunity to show their support of the movement.
You know, I fought in Vietnam with them. Didn't make any difference what your color was. You're my brother. And black lives matter.
Whether there are a few protesting or many, they always get reactions from passerbys, whether they are of support or not. I'm Zachary Murphy with SBU-TV.
The Olean Racial Justice Coalition plans to continue protesting on Tuesday nights until November 3rd. The talk of social injustice has caught the headlines these past few months. SBU-TV's Ryan Boland tells us how athletics are pushing for change and what St. Bonaventure has planned to keep the conversation alive.
Equality, justice, and respect are just some of the words plastered on the backs of professional athletes across the NBA. They are attention-grabbing, and they're making headlines across the country.
Being an athlete doesn't just mean you receive millions of dollars in notoriety for playing a game.
It provides a platform where you're able to speak your mind and invoke conversations. As former NBA player and Bonaventure alum Andrew Nicholson tells us, athletes will not be silent.
Silence is violence, of course, and them using their platform to show that, they want change, and they're not doing it in a violent way. They want to show everybody, this is what we're doing. We want to bring light to the injustices that's happening, not only in America, but, in the world as well, too. We want change. Everybody wants change.
Wanting change and acting for change are two completely different things. Athletes can wear shirts with powerful phrases, but St. Bonaventure's Jaron English would like it to go one step further.
more education, touching more on social injustice, touching more on systemic racism. You knowing how I feel on a daily basis, or how I wake up in the morning, or how I approach certain situations, I feel like you would take more of an understanding of what I go through, what we go through as Black men and Black women. We know that a lot of people don't know because they weren't taught. So you can't expect somebody to know something that they just don't know.
While educating people is possibly on the agenda, Assistant Athletic Director here at St. Bonaventure, Seth Johnson, tells us about a university initiative known as Unfurl as One.
The Unfurl as One is a committee that we put together, and we felt as a Franciscan university and as a Division I athletic department that we had a voice and we had a platform where we could really make a difference. And this was to really have a solid plan with actually attainable goals.
Seth continued to tell me that the initiative is still in the discussion phases and that they are doing their best to not rush things. He said the 27-person committee, which is composed of student athletes, administrators, and other university personnel, plan to meet next week with the goal of sending out a survey to student athletes to see what the next steps will be. Reporting for SBU-TV, I'm Ryan Bolin.
The Unfurl as One plan is set to be posted on the university's website upon completion. The goal is to post a detailed plan along with a mission statement of their objectives to keep the conversation going. On the same topic, the Atlantic 10 Conference created the A10 Connected for Change Committee. The group was created within the last couple weeks by assistant coaches in the conference. It will make up a group of coaches and players in the A10. The group intends to take a stand on social injustices and systematic racism. SBU-TV's Jaron English is a St. Bonaventure basketball player. In a story for next week, he reveals what this group will do on a local level to empower the movement. He'll also have an exclusive interview with SBU men's basketball player number 21, Oshun Oshuni. Coming up after this short break, how are high school students touring St. Bonaventure? Also, an inside look on how local school districts have implemented hybrid learning amid the pandemic. Stay with us.
What's the best way to pick the right college? Use your head and make a practical choice based on cost and academics? Or follow your heart to a place that just feels right? At St. Bonaventure, you can do both. Here, you'll join a unique community that celebrates individuality, meet professors as passionate about people as they are about learning, and form lifelong connections without a lifetime of debt. Come see for yourself why St. Bonaventure isn't just a special place, it's a smart choice.
Thank you for staying with us. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues across the United States, universities adapt admissions for prospective students and college admissions counselors. Our own Jared Gates spoke with the admission teams on their plan to engage with potential Bonnies.
The new COVID-19 guidelines to promote the university for high school students. I spoke with Doug Brady, Director of Admissions, and Duran Wells, an admissions counselor, on how COVID changes the admissions process at St. Bonaventure. Brady explains the technology SBU is implementing in the admissions process.
A way to get Bonaventure in front of prospective students, and maybe there's a way to leverage our virtual tour that we're already using, or that we already have, it's already made and sits on our website. But maybe there's a way to get that in their hands, and so maybe looking at utilizing Google Cardboard or another virtual reality or virtual way to get that in their hands, maybe through a direct mailer of some kind. So
Google Cardboard is a VR device. On the SBU website is a virtual tour of campus. Incorporating both technologies gives prospective students an idea of life at St. Bonaventure, said Brady. Wells spoke on how building strong relations with prospective students and guidance counselors is essential during this time.
Enhancing, or kind of like doing what we normally do about like kind of being personal and being kind of close knit with the people that we're working with, but on a different level this year. So just kind of sharing different ideas that we had in our office with guidance counselors, how to engage their students, how to promote different schools while being online or not really being able to be in person.
St. Bonaventure plans to continue exploring new ideas and methods to draw in new students. Brady speaks on presenting Bonaventure as a special place for possible incoming students.
for us, I think it's presenting what Bonaventure is to the best of our ability, and letting students know why this place is so special and how they can be successful here. And so trying to keep that in mind as we deal with all the rest of the challenges is kind of what we got to make sure we keep in the forefront.
For SBU TV, I'm Jared Gates.
The admissions team is currently working to create more alternative admission tactics. Attention all Bonaventure students, have you been adjusting to hybrid learning this semester? Our own Sean Main spoke with students and professors on their opinions about this new style of learning.
COVID-19 is shaking up St. Bonaventure's campus inside and out of the classroom. Professors and students say the relationships between them has gotten a lot less personal. Several students voiced their opinion on the matter.
I'm definitely not learning like I was in the past.
Caitlin Miller is a junior psychology major and says she has 0 classes face-to-face with her professors this semester.
Definitely not the same as in the past. One of my classes is just a pre-recorded lecture, so I've never really spoken to the professor. I've emailed him once, but if I saw him in public, I wouldn't even recognize him, which is obviously not ideal.
Lily Chittenden is a junior marketing major, and she had this to say about her experiences with classes via Zoom.
I think it's boring, and you don't learn a lot, and you don't get the same education in general.
Chittenden explained the challenge of connecting with the professors with online learning.
So I think if you have a class on Zoom, you don't have barely any relationship with a professor because you never see them in person probably ever.
But do professors feel the same way?
So it's more like teaching the subject than it is like teaching the student.
Professor Ametrius Robert Amico teaches all his courses remotely this semester, and he has his own issues.
So I have no idea which students are struggling and which students are just really goofing off, or which students, what their problems are.
Teaching class in person has been a struggle as well. Dr. Ed Simone, professor of theater, talks about why he chooses to teach in person.
I felt that if we could, we should.
For SBU-TV, I'm Sean Mains.
SBU remains in hybrid learning for the rest of the semester, but how are local school districts adjusting to their online learning? SBU-TV's Christopher Roy speaks with the superintendent of Allegheny Limestone Central School District about the implementation of hybrid learning during a pandemic and how they have handled the changes.
Week 2 of classes ended at Allegheny Limestone Central School District today.
We're doing hybrid learning in grades 6 through 12, and we're doing every day in grades pre-K through 5.
Giannici said seating on buses is reduced to allow for proper social distancing, and each student has an assigned seat on the bus in case contact tracing is needed. Superintendent Giannici said the district has 4 learning cohorts. Cohort A attends classes on Mondays and Thursdays. Cohort B attends classes on Tuesdays and Fridays. Cohort C attends classes Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And Cohort D is fully remote.
Cohort C goes on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And that really is like kids without internet, kids who struggle on online learning, some of our special needs students.
After speaking with the district superintendent, I spoke with a mother of 3 who also happens to be the PTO president of Allegheny Limestone School District, and her views on how the first 2 weeks of classes have been.
Boys are doing good. It was quite an adjustment to do the virtual. Obviously they had a little bit of it in the spring when COVID first hit.
One-to-one technology use has been an important part of the learning process so far this year.
Both my older boys have laptops that they bring home, and my youngest one in the elementary school, they do have laptops as well, but they keep them at the school for now. So
parents seem confident in the district's plan and are happy to see students returning to classes.
I work out every day. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 24. COVID won't kill me.
I have antibodies. COVID won't kill me.
It's been a long week. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 25. COVID won't kill me.
I'm partying outside. COVID won't kill me.
I don't need to wear a mask around my friends. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 23. COVID won't kill me.
If I haven't gotten it yet, COVID won't kill me.
I'm young. COVID won't kill me.
Famous last words. Don't let them be yours. Be New York tough and smart. Socially distance. Mask up, America.
How have you been keeping up with COVID-19, election debates, and social injustice movements? Over the past 6 months, Nielsen studies reveal a 60% increase in video consumption globally. How are those that bring you this media handling their jobs emotionally?
This was one of the few times when I heard the blood-curdling scream of someone who just found out their loved one died. There's nothing more horrific to hear. It's probably the worst sound on earth.
Tyler Brown, a news reporter at 13 Wham, covered the mass shooting in Rochester on Saturday, September 19th. Since March, Brown reported stories surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic, the social injustice protests, and the murder of Daniel Prude. Constant coverage to bring viewers the answers they need requires journalists to surround themselves in news, no matter how tragic or draining it may be. I spoke with Amy Mann, a mental health counselor and the clinic director at the Cattaraugus County Counseling Service Center. She explains the two different impacts a journalist may face when constantly submerged in tragedy. First, compassion fatigue, when people disassociate and do not mentally digest all the pain and tragedy they face daily. Second, vicarious trauma. A shift from reality for people constantly around negativity and trauma begin to believe that they themselves experience that trauma. Brown says he experiences both. Mann stresses the importance of taking mental health breaks for journalists like Tyler and the up-and-coming journalists that study in the building behind me at the Jan Dooley School of Communication. Mann also shared strategies that journalists can use to help mentally soothe from their constant plugged-in life.
I think it's very important that anybody that is consistently working in a high-stress profession has someone to talk to. With all of the things that have been going on this year, every single month it's been almost something different. It's made it very hard for people who are working in the professions that these different events have affected to be able to have that thing to look forward to.
Brown relies on conversations with friends, family, co-workers, and even other competing journalists for his self-care moments. He says he takes 20 to 30 minutes a day to do something he enjoys or different from his usual routine. For SBU-TV, I'm Michaela Hyman.
Other strategies Mann shared includes picking up hobbies, talking with a licensed mental health professional or a peer, and getting plenty of rest. Feel the morning chill as you drive into work? As fall begins, so does flu season. How will the colder months factor into the COVID-19 pandemic? Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, says people should not be afraid, rather allow the upcoming cold months serve as a realization and reminder of how people need to protect themselves against COVID-19. Worries for Fauci stem from locations in the U.S. that do not have control over COVID-19 currently. High percentages of active COVID-19 cases in September will only worsen as the weather turns for winter. Coming up after the break, Bonnie's men's basketball team out of quarantine. Spring sports players that lost their season last year due to COVID-19 take their season back. And will this weekend's NFL injuries impact your fantasy football league? Find out after the break as we return with SBU-TV Sports.
What's the best way to pick the right college? Use your head and make a practical choice based on cost and academics? Or follow your heart to a place that just feels right? At St. Bonaventure, you can do both. Here, you'll join a unique community that celebrates individuality, meet professors as passionate about people as they are about learning, and form lifelong connections without a lifetime of debt. Come see for yourself why St. Bonaventure isn't just a special place, it's a smart choice.
Welcome back to SBU TV. Another major football conference is reversing action and getting back to the field. Let's toss things over to Ryan Bolin with sports.
Thanks, Tommy, and welcome everybody to SBU TV Sports. I'm Ryan Bolin. Well, just last week it was announced the college basketball season will begin on November 25th. But the news broke as St. Bonaventure's men's basketball team was in quarantine. Now, the players are finally free and able to begin practicing and working as a team towards that November 25th start date. But they're doing so with a bit more caution.
Inside Oshuniyi.
Earlier this week, the men's basketball team was officially released from a 2-week quarantine. During one of the rounds of student-athlete testing, a member of the team tested positive for the coronavirus. Although 2 subsequent tests from this individual came back negative, all members of the team had to isolate for 2 weeks. Junior guard Jaron English talked about his experience in quarantine and his expectations for the upcoming season.
Ultimately, though, it was just a good experience knowing that this is what happens when we do some of the things that they tell us don't do. Not that we did anything.
With the NCAA releasing the exact start date for the basketball season, players and fans are anxiously awaiting its arrival.
I'm just excited to get back on this journey. Last year we kind of, shortcutted, and we didn't have an opportunity to really compete for an A-10 championship like we wanted. A-10 championship. and getting to the NCAA tournament. That's a big goal of ours.
Our Bonnies have big expectations for the 2020-2021 season, pursuing their second Atlantic 10 championship.
Locked it wide open for three.
A new location for the Bonnies Paradise Jam tournament has been reported by CBS Sports insider John Rothstein. So much for the sunny Virgin Islands, the 8-team tournament has instead been moved to Washington, D.C. The Paradise Jam is one of many holiday tournaments that have announced rescheduled venues, including the Maui Invitational, which has been moved to Asheville, North Carolina, and the Battle for Atlantis, which is headed to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. No new dates for the tournament have been announced yet. What COVID-19 took away from the spring collegiate athletes, the NCAA has given back. SBU-TV Sports' Tommy Valentine met with two St. Bonaventure student athletes to discuss with them what led them to make the decision to come back to Bonas for a fifth year.
When women's lacrosse midfielder Destiny Johnson realized she could hit the reset button on her senior year, the decision was a no-brainer.
The day we got that eligibility back, there was absolutely no question in my mind. I was going to make it work, hands down. I didn't care what I had to go through, what I had to do. I was coming back, and I'm going to play this year. So the day they gave it, there was no question at all. I was coming back for my fifth year.
The NCAA granted spring athletes whose season was cut short by COVID-19 an extra year of eligibility. And while it's clear players like Johnson are just excited to have one last hurrah with their teammates, so too are the coaches who now have an extra season with their most experienced players.
Having a little bit more of that leadership around and that experience around across the board, has been awesome, and I think will really serve us well over the next, 6 to 8 months. For me personally, I'm so happy that they have this opportunity to continue to have some closure and completion to their collegiate careers.
Johnson is one of 8 student athletes who will be taking that extra year of eligibility. Another one of those student athletes you can find right on this field in the spring, who will be bringing the heat in what he's looking at as a redemption season.
I consider myself a very competitive guy. What competitive athlete would want their senior year to go out the way it did? I want to pitch like I've never pitched before. I want to go out there and just with an attitude here's my stuff, you aren't going to hit it. I've been around the block a few times. I'm going to go out there and just give it my all.
For Johnson, despite leading the women's lacrosse team last year in points, the only thing on her mind right now is serving as a role model for her younger teammates.
My personal goal is to be a good leader and show them this is the program and this is where we're going. And we're nowhere where we want to be yet, but we are on the right track.
We can only hope that our spring athletes finally get the senior season they truly deserve. Tommy Valentine, SBU-TV Sports. New, now, next.
Daniels takes his shot for Darby.
The Pac-12 Conference is following the footsteps of the Big Ten and announced their plan for a 2020 football season Thursday night. The league's CEO group voted for the season to begin on November 6th using a 7-game conference-only schedule. Similar to the Big Ten, the conference has also agreed to having no fans in attendance for any of its regular season games. Barring any setbacks, the Pac-12 will complete its season 2 days before the selection day for the college football playoff on December 20th. However, there are questions at this time as to whether Pac-12 teams will be eligible for the playoff given their reduced schedule.
Little sweep action to Paris Campbell.
The injury bug struck several premier NFL players hard this past weekend. The season is over for San Francisco's defensive end Nick Bosa and New York Giants running back Saquon Barkley after suffering ACL injuries. There's speculation the rise in injuries could be a result of not having a traditional training camp or preseason. This is leading to concerns at the collegiate level, considering basketball is not allowed to have any exhibitions or scrimmages. St. Bonaventure's head strength and conditioning coach Darren Fisk is confident the off-season workouts student athletes are involved in right now will alleviate any injury concerns when the season starts.
We're a little different than the NFL. Actually, that's all we do is have an off-season program, practice, and train right now. All of our kids are currently in off-season mode training for their spring season. I think what you saw with the NFL is just bad luck.
The earliest any teams at St. Bonaventure will see live game action is November 25th when the basketball team gets their season underway. So great to see all our teams healthy and back to practice as we slowly get closer to the start of the winter season. Follow our social media accounts for continuous updates on both the collegiate and professional level. That's all from sports. I'm Ryan Bolin. Back to you, Tommy.
Thanks for tuning in this morning. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you right back here next week.